Okay, what's up, everybody? Hello, welcome to Labs 14, Lambda Labs X1. This is the beginning of Lambda Labs X, and um, this is huge. This is enormous. This is like the greatest thing to ever happen to Lambda School. I don't care what anybody says. I'm telling you right now, this is. I'm so freaking excited. I'm foaming at the mouth with excitement, and I'm so happy that y'all are here with me to be a part of this, and for us to just flip everybody's wig with what we have planned over the next. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into the whole schedule. So, without further ado, now that I'm recording, I'm going to pull up some slides, and we'll go through this one by one. Again, going to try to keep this as streamlined as possible, but there's a lot of dialogue here. So, if you have a question, it's cool if you want to jump in, but let's just keep in mind, let's work in a time frame. So, the way this is going to work is that we have 2 days. We're going to meet today, and then we're going to meet tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be the same time. It's going to be same time, same station, and we're going to cover some more like the finer molecular details of how this all works. And this is more of like a broad, like a philosophical conversation of what it is that we are, what we do as team leads, as well as some of the general housekeeping. That is to say, the details of clocking in, clocking out for payroll, of taking attendance. I want to have a conversation about stand-ups. And so without further ado, let's get into it. So Labs TL training today, the 26th of June, 2019. This is it. This is the beginning of Labs X. And you, my friends, are team leads. And this is going to be the greatest thing, as I told you, to ever happen in Lambda School. We're going to be here for each other. We're going to work together. And we're going to be working with the students, of which we are also students. And we can't ever lose sight of that. We are students, too, at the end of the day. To make this the most immersive, the most incredible experience, not just for Lambda students, but just developers in general. I think this extends beyond Lambda. The things that we get from Labs already is just like unparalleled, but this is a whole nother ballgame. So this is what we're going to do. This is day one. And like I said before, we're going to go over some more broad details today. And then we'll get into the nitty gritty of how like weeks 1, weeks 2, weeks 3, like what happens Monday through Friday, specifically in which week. We have a whole litany of calendars and Rubik's Cube scheduling, and it's a lot. And so I think it deserves its own chunk of time. I was kind of like leaning towards doing this all in one lecture, but I think that it'd be doing us a disservice if we try to cram everything. So, and I'm going to, I believe, have Jess Martin, one of our instructors, who I think some of you have met, just be jumping in with me tomorrow to go over some of that. So let's do it. So let's start out with introductions. Hello, I'm Ed. I am I'm from Philadelphia. I'm in Utah right now. And like a lot of you, I'm kind of coming from a non-traditional background in software engineering and Lambda School. That's part of the reason why I love Lambda School so much, is because it is kind of like a patchwork quilt of different walks of life. And I'm very humbled by like the people I meet and the things they come from, the things they've done, the things they do. Myself, I come from a bunch of odd jobs. I don't come from an academic background. I'm a community college dropout who just was who fell in love with the world of programming and fell into Lambda School because the fact that everything that it had in store in terms of software engineering programs, non-college based, I was really swept away with what they were doing, and here we are. So enough about me. Just to set the stage, I'm coming from a background of a student who enrolled in Full Stack Web 14 back in August. It seems like 10 years ago. And then just kind of bounced around labs for a long time as a team lead, even back then when they were called project managers. That's a big thing in labs now. We're no longer project managers. We are team leads. Did that for a couple of cohorts, and then I would act as section lead for a little while. I still am, technically, until Friday. And now I will be serving as a associate project manager, working with Alice Karsavar and the instructors. So you'll be seeing a lot of me. And so I want to take this moment to pass around to you. If we could just briefly kind of go around the table. If we could just give a brief introduction to who we are, what we do, where we're from, what our deal is. I'm going to turn off the slide and I'm going to flip it over to you. So I'm just going to go around the room. So let's just let's just go in order. I'll just call you out one by one, and you just let us know what the deal is, who you are, what's up. So I'll start with Edwin. What's up, Edwin?
Hey, nothing much. Really excited to be becoming a part of Labs 14. Like, I don't know, your enthusiasm is kind of contagious. I know Labs is really great, but I'm really excited to see what's coming up, coming up next. But basically, similar story. I've also done some odd jobs and stuff. I don't have any kind of tech background and stuff like that. I just took a gamble on Lambda School just to see like how that's gonna go for me. And I gotta say, it's been a crazy ride, and I've learned so much. It's really insane. So I just want to continue to be a part of that and give back as much as I can. Try to give back what I've gotten from the school. And all I can say is I'm just pretty excited to see where this goes.
Definitely. Thank you, Edwin. Jeff.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm from State College, Pennsylvania, which if you're a football fan, we got the Nittany Lions.
We are
Penn State, that's right. And yeah, I probably have a similar background to a lot of you. I'm 19 years old. I've been working full-time construction and assorted jobs since I was like 15. I dropped out of high school early, which I had to fix later. Don't do that. But yeah, so I'm here in labs because I really wanted like a break to reinforce like the knowledge that I've learned so far and to pass on that knowledge, and teaching other people and helping other people was really good for that. So I'm really excited to reinforce the knowledge I've learned so far and pick up new things as well, because as team leads, it's going to be our responsibility to know some stuff, and that'll really motivate me to push harder and work harder. And yeah, just really excited to be here at Lambda and taking this 5 or 8 weeks, whatever it is now, and with you guys. And yeah, look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Jeff. Megan.
Hi, yeah, I'm Megan. I'm from Kansas, but at the current moment I'm sitting in Seattle. Yeah, I was an English teacher for a long time and kind of hated my job. So then I was a political campaign manager for a bit, and then I landed here. So I've really enjoyed it. I think this is the thing that I've found most interesting in terms of work stuff. So that's me. I don't know.
That's an interesting parallel to just coming from education into, that's what we are. That's what we are kind of serving. We are not necessarily educators, but actually that's a whole nother seminar. But yes, cool. Thanks, Megan. Tyler.
Hey everybody, I'm Tyler from Charlotte, North Carolina. I worked in the hotel business for about 4 or 5 years. Always kind of programmed as a hobby, but thought Lambda School would be a cool thing to join. I really wanted it to be a labs TL because I like the deep dive into the different libraries we got to use, like Stripe, Cloudinary on my project. And hopefully I'll get to do some more of that as a TL, but just really excited to get started with this.
Definitely will, man. Definitely will. Omar. How you doing, Omar?
Pretty good. So my name's Omar. I'm from Northern Virginia. A year ago, maybe, year and a half, I was in college for quantitative finance. I realized I didn't really like the finance aspect. I really much more so preferred the computer science and programming part of that. And I stumbled upon Lambda School, and here I am. I gotta say, I didn't really like the traditional learning process of college and the whole pay for like 40 classes you're never going to learn and then do the final 10 at the end, but I've learned so much from Lambda. One of the main reasons I want to be a TL for Lambda is that, ever since joining, Lambda's changed my life a lot. And I think the TLs or PMs are like a huge role model, a huge part of that process. And I want to be one of the people who actually help change the lives of other people's, not to sound sappy, but like, it's kind of, as some people said earlier, it's kind of a way of giving back. And also, I really do want to try out the new Labs 8-week program too.
Nothing's happy about it, man. It's like, yeah, it is a little, maybe it sounds a little hokey saying out loud, but it's true. This is all we do. This is what we do, literally 40, 50 hours a week. We see each other more than we see our family, our friends. So there is a big impact with each other, whether we like it or not. Cool. Thank you. Oscar, how about you?
Hey everyone, I'm Oscar. I live in Chicago. Before Lambda, I started actually coding in high school. I went to a computer science high school, and that's where I got my first hands-on coding. And then after that, I unfortunately have a single mother. She couldn't pay for college, so I started doing self-taught development. And then from there, I had some side jobs and realized that I didn't like retail. I didn't like talking to people, so I'd rather just sit down in a computer and program. And I found it interesting. And then Lambda was too good to be true, so I was like, I'll give it a shot. Let's see if it's real. I applied, and now we're here. And it's been those 2 years of teaching myself. I think here with Lambda, I've learned a lot more with Lambda than those 2 years that I was on my own teaching myself. And I'm really grateful. And I think becoming a TL will give me more of a point of view of how projects actually work from an outside perspective on how to manage a team, and working with a lot of different people throughout these last 4 or 5 months has shown me that there's more to coding, and it's not just lines of code. There's communication, there's teamwork, like you said, there's family. We see people every day. This is all we do, and we're here for a reason. So I'm happy to be here with everyone.
We're about that life, man. Definitely about that life. Thank you, Oscar. Asa, what's up?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
Mhm.
It's pronounced Asa.
Oh, you've always, yeah, I'm sorry. I do this every time, dude. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I used to not correct people, and then 6 weeks later, I'm like, I should have corrected them.
I'm glad you did. If I do, just keep doing it. I'm so sorry.
Technically, you are correct. It's Hebrew, and it would be Asa, and I live in the Southwest, and everyone calls in the Spanish speakers say Asa, but it's anglicized Asa. Anyway, I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah. I've lived in 12 states plus England, Scotland, and Wales. I'm currently in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is a state in the United States. A lot of Americans don't know that. I came in with no previous background to coding. I was originally looking for a hobby to help my mind. Found out about Lambda School, did some self-learning. Came in, I ended up in MVP, which was then changed to Async, which was then changed to Flex. So I understand the struggles. Became a TL for Web 18 and absolutely loved it. And went in and helped a lot of the Flex students in Web 18, and I fell in love with it. Came into labs, and I love it. I know a lot of students complain like there's too many meetings or not enough coding. This is what life is going to be like. When I hit here, before then I was kind of maybe burning out a little bit. I wasn't quite sure. And then I hit labs and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. This is really cool. So I've been mostly self-employed in my life. When you talk to me, you'll find out I've touched about almost every different type of business. And I've even written a book. So anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
That's Asa without a beard, y'all. Cool. Thank you very much. Next up, we got one of my current TLs, aka PM, but Ryan Matthews. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, how you doing? So I'm 24 years old, and I got my first taste of coding the summer before my freshman year of high school. Touched on Ruby a little bit before I got into Java for school. And some funky stuff happened, and I got like a year and a half of it. So I eventually graduated, tried college, didn't work out, and I've been in food service since, with the exception of the last year where I got my first taste of an office job. And I was basically doing data entry, and it was the most mind-numbingly boring, atrocious, I never want to do this another day in my life kind of stuff that I did 9 months longer than I was comfortable with. So I quit that job to be a PM and now a TL, and completely immerse myself in Lambda to keep going forward. And I'm passionate about non-traditional education methods. College is not for everybody. It works for some people. It's great for them. And so, Ed, if you want to be my mentor and help me get to where you are with Lambda, that'd be awesome.
I feel like we're already there, man.
I'm gonna keep pounding you.
Yes, please do. I'm always here. I'm right here in the phone booth. Cool. Thank you, Ryan. Next we got Chelsea. Chelsea, I haven't seen you in centuries. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you? My name is Chelsea. I grew up in Jersey, but I live in Rhode Island now. Similar background. I went to 2 different colleges, got no formal degree, mostly due to financial struggles. So I went online, got a paralegal certificate within about a 3-month time. So online learning is nothing new. Was a paralegal for 3 years in the eviction department. So needless to say, kicking people out of their homes was not something I wanted to do the rest of my life. So within about a 6-month time period, I got kicked out of my apartment, got married, bought a house, quit my job, adopted a dog, and started school at Lambda. So midlife crisis, I guess you can say, or quarter life crisis at my age.
It's impressive.
Yeah, so I started at Web 16. I moved on to Labs 11, where our team did flex. So I'm used to that struggle as well. I'm in my last week of CS 17, so I should be done with the program by the end of the week. And actually this week, our labs project is presenting at the Lambda Showcase. So I want to pass that labs experience on to the next group because hopefully I get a good job out of this.
That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
That's the plan, Stan. All right, Chelsea, thank you. Let's see. Next up, we got Alando. What's good, Alando?
What's up, Ed? Like you said, my name's Orlando. I'm 23 years old. I'm expecting a child December time, late November, early December. My previous roles were IT for like 2 years. And prior to that, it was like general labor. Like I worked in the furniture moving business, like loading trucks, unloading trucks, so like really hard labor. And so I hated that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna find an office job. And that's how I got into IT. And then I found Lambda School, and like I forgot his name, but somebody else said it seems like it's too good to be true. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot because I've been coding for 2 years as I was in the IT job. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, and here I am today. And the reason why I wanted to become a TL is because I really want to push myself and grow, because I feel like being a TL will make you grow in ways that you did not expect. Because I've never done anything like this. I've never like managed a group of people, but I feel like I'm capable of doing that, and I'd like to add that to my skill set as well. So that's one of the main reasons why.
Cool. Thanks, Lando. Good to have you.
Mm-hmm.
Chad. Hello, Chad.
Hey, everybody. So, yeah, pretty much same situation as all of you. I kind of like grew up in a crazy household. But my dad was a music producer, so I always had computers around. So I kind of like just buried myself in like computers in the future and like all this stuff. I'm 32, so I remember like the beginning of like the internet. And so I went to college for a year, lost my mom, so I dropped out and was like, I need to get a job. So I started at Bank of America as a customer service and worked my way up to management and a supervisor, and then realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to work for a bank. So I was DJing part-time for a few years and decided to take that full-time. So the past few years I've been doing that. But still like always like had a love for coding. Like I built my own DJ website and like all that stuff. So I was trying to figure out like, how can I monetize this? So I started building websites for friends. And then I was like, well, I should probably go to school for this so I can make some real money, and was self-teaching for a little bit. And then just like, because of how Google works, Lambda started popping up, and I applied and here I am. So I want to be a PM, which now a team lead, so I can reinforce what I've learned. The best way to learn is to teach. So,
No doubt. Hey, Chad, before we jump out today, we got to trade SoundClouds because it seems like we both did the same thing. That's cool.
Right.
Awesome. Let's see. Next, I got. I don't know if you have a different name on Zoom. Idhak, is that the name, or is that?
Yep.
Okay,
Hi,
cool.
everybody.
Hello
I,
there.
I'm Lajanti, same as it from FSW 14. And I have a technical background, but I took a long break because of my kids. It got extended really long. So just wanted to update my knowledge for the market and wanted to do something from home without stepping out of home so I can take care of my family too while learning. So that's why I chose Lambda and really excited to become a TL for the labs because I heard so many stories about the labs, but it's really labs are really making yourself confident for the jobs because what I experienced, I really learned a completely new framework for the labs. And it was from last 4 weeks, it's really maybe 20 to 25% coding, but 70 to 75% just Google and bug fixing. But I did that, and I think I can share that experience with the people, and I can like motivate the student like don't give up. It's really a job experience. What you will be doing really on the job, that's what the labs you are learning, because what you learn for the maybe for the full stack development, React, Express, backend, front end development, then the computer science, which is needed for everybody for the job interview. So apart from that, what you will be facing at the job, that's the labs, what they will be. So I think to share it and to learn while helping, that's why I enrolled like, for the TL.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Let's see, keep it moving. We got Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Hi, I'm good. I'm Nick. I was just working for a grocery store before Lambda. I've been kind of programming ever since high school. I was always making games in my free time and stuff. But I decided to come to Lambda instead of going to college to avoid debt. I was a PM for Web 18, and yeah, just like Asa, and now I'm coming back for Labs 14 because I really enjoyed my Labs experience and like just everything about it really, because it feels really real world and everything. So it's just a really cool place to be around, and I want to stick around Labs as long as I can.
It's cool. Good to have you, Nick. Thank you. Travis.
All right, can you all hear me fine?
Can hear you.
All right, good deal. Just testing this mic out. So I like Asa, I'm from New Mexico. I don't live in New Mexico currently. I'm in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, though. I'm from CS6, so I'm kind of old here.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that you guys are making this choice to be a TL for labs is a great idea. From past friends that I've had here that went on to be TLs and PMs back then, it really helps reinforce the things you learn. It helps you learn to talk about technical aspects of the job better, and I think makes you all around a better candidate for companies. So good choice going to be a TL for labs. It'll help out a ton. So after I had finished Lambda back in June of 2018, I jumped off track and I went to work on a political campaign for Scott Wallace in PA as an IT tech consultant. I served mostly as a cybersecurity consultant, making sure, their stuff was secure, avoiding those Russian hackers and all that fun stuff. From there, I kind of fell off track again and then just dived into the Lambda X program when it was Labs CE to kind of be one of their test guinea pigs and run through the program. And middle of that, I took on a tech support role at a point of sales company, which was interesting, and ultimately dropped that to get into this and be a TL with you guys because, like I said, it helps you reinforce things you've learned and makes you a stronger candidate for other companies. So, and it's nice to kind of give back to, a school that has given so much to us and taught us so much. So it's a good place to be in. Excited to work with y'all.
For sure. Excited to work with you too, Travis. We got special guest appearance, Gannon Darcy, in the house. Hello, Gannon.
What up, Ed? How you doing? So, my name's Gannon Darcy. I am from Detroit, Michigan. Started off in Webs 14 with Ed. Became a full-time PM. Became a part-time PM. Was on Labs 12 and was just recently Labs 13. I keep saying PM. I know it's not a team lead. And now
It takes a while. It's going to take a while, but we'll get it.
Yeah.
I still do it too. Yeah.
And now I am going to be an SL for Labs 14. I'm very excited to be able to work with a lot of you taking Labs in this new direction. I was essentially Jess's guinea pig for a lot of his new ideas in this current cohort. And pretty much everything he did and proposed worked really, really well. And I can tell you guys from my personal experience, the way we are going to be doing labs going forward is actually a true game changer. It is that next level. It almost makes me upset that I can't do labs again, but I realize I can because we're doing Labs X, because this is something else. I'm actually really, really excited. So you guys picked the right time to be team leads, because your level of experience, your level of training is going to reach a higher level than you really can anticipate at this point. And I'm excited to grow with you and to see all of you grow and hit that next level as well.
Constant elevation, y'all. You got some 24 karat gold in Gannon. Looks like all I have left. Chris, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Chris, what's going on?
It's going. So I thought I was the old man of the group, actually, until I heard that. I forgot that Travis was all the way back in CS6. I started with CS10. I went with, I was a full-time PM for Web 12 and went through Labs 9 with them. Finished up there. Also currently a part-time PM for Web part-time 5. And my background is super untraditional, like all the rest of you. I mean, similar story for all of us. I spent time in academia in Utah and South Korea. I worked in finance in Charlotte, North Carolina, and obviously that didn't work out. So I'm here trying to figure out how to, do this whole engineering thing. I'm going to be moving up to Idaho in a little bit so my wife can finish school. She's studying to be a network engineer. And yeah, I was also a guinea pig for the Labs CE, which is now Lambda X. It was super cool. And got to work with a lot of awesome people on a super cool project that they're launching out in Uganda, which is kind of pretty amazing. I didn't think that I'd ever, work on anything that would have a real world application, especially this early. So
one of the coolest projects we ever had in Labs, by the way.
Absolutely, man. Yo, it was awesome. So yeah, and I'm excited to. I'm actually not even sure if I'm in Labs or if I'm part of the Labs X TLs. So I should probably figure that out. But either way, I'm really excited to be part of the Labs TL group, because Labs is where it really makes you. That's where you start working on real stuff, and that's what, from my experience, that's what impresses the hiring team. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Real stuff. That's what we're about right now. It's all about real stuff starting today.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris. All right, y'all. Cool. So we got we did a lot of that. I know that took a little bit to get through, but I think the most important thing right now today is that we all get acquainted with one another, because we're fam now. So everybody bringing in, we're going to be spending a lot of time together, and just want to make sure that everybody gets a few words in, for all the just the journey that we're about to go on. Okay, cool, Ed, keep it moving. So let me go back to my slides. And like I'm saying before, I know that there's a bunch to cover, and that's why we're breaking it into 2 days. So again, this is going to be like 30,000 foot view. We're going to speed run through some things. But the main thing that I want to focus on mostly today with the time that we are working with is I want to try to set the tone, the candor, try to echo maybe the philosophy that Jess and Holdy and Josh Armin Joshua Howland, director of Lambda, Bree, Alice, Sabrina, just the whole team. We've been kind of like chewing on this for a long time, and I feel like we've just been like whiteboarding and throwing ideas on the wall, and I feel like we have like a whole different approach to the philosophy of how this all goes. So I'm just gonna get into it. Here's our agenda. There it is. Let's do it. So this is inside of the higher channel. This is something that Austin said. You know, Austin is always good for a soundbite. He's always good for a one-liner. And he dropped this the other day in the channel, and it just, it cracked me up when I read it, but I felt like it was perfect for just some kind of introductory motivational quotation or whatever. Because he's right. Like when it comes to labs, and X specifically, but labs and just as a whole, it really is like Game Genie for what it is that we're doing. I mean, like, I don't care what you did with Redux or how slick you were with SQL backend, because like none of it matters, man, until we get into labs, until we like really start grinding on a project and working together and doing the version control and just like everything that comes with doing the project. It really is like, it's the kind of thing that like if you can't get hired after doing labs, whether it's one time, whether you do another round, and if you get to do another round, that's awesome. I think it's like really, really cool if you could do this more than once. There's no way that you can't convince somebody to hire you. I think everybody here knows that, but so who are we? What do we do? What is a team lead? What is a project manager? Is a project manager the same thing as a team lead? And I think that this is like the most important thing. I know that this is the most important thing. If I get anything across to everybody today, this is it. The team lead is not a manager. The team lead is part of the team. What is the difference between a coach and a point guard? I'm sorry, bear with me. I'm a big basketball fan. I know that sports are not everybody's thing, but I feel like this is an apt metaphor. What is the difference between a coach and a point guard? For those who don't know, the point guard on a basketball team is the one who dribbles the ball up the court and then calls play, passes the ball, sets up the play. So the coach is the one who draws the plan on his little whiteboard, her little whiteboard, facilitates a solution, and teaches the team how to execute, whether that's in practice, whether that's doing shooting drills, setting up defensive schemes. The coach is the one who draws the blueprint for the team to execute. A point guard, conversely, is one who actually has the ball in their hand, is reading the defense, is trying to get a feel, taking a barometer of what it is they're faced with, calls out the play to execute, throws the ball, push the button, start the show. Nothing happens until they pass the ball. And that's like, these are two completely different things. They're both key to success in the goal of putting the ball into the hoop and scoring the point against the other team. But what is the difference? I mean, like, what is the true difference between the coach and the point guard? They're both kind of like steering the ship. They're both directing and leading the team in their own way. But the biggest difference is that the coach is the manager and the point guard is a leader. And there's a big difference. There's a really big difference. And I didn't really like understand that difference. It took me like a couple rounds of labs, and it took me a couple like sitting on the mountain, stroking a beard and like pontificating about what this all means. It's a really, really big difference. The coach isn't wearing a uniform. The coach is wearing the necktie. He's wearing the suit, sitting there with the clipboard, calling out the plays, but he can't do anything if the players aren't executing on the plan. The manager is just the one who facilitates the plan. This is what I want you to do. This is the ideal situation. This is what we want to happen. But they're not on the court. They're on the sideline. And your role is the point guard because you're not on the sideline. You draw plans. You come up with strategies. You try to read the situation. But at the end of the day, you're on the court and the ball is in your hand and you're looking to see who's open, who's setting the pick and roll, and who's in the paint. You're on the court and you're the one that's going to have to make the ball go into the hole. You're the one that's actually going to do that. And so this is the huge distinction between labs 1 through 99 and labs X. You ready? This is the difference. The difference is that as no longer project manager, as team lead, you are no longer the person who merges the pull request. You're no longer just the person who will take the Zoom call on Slack when the team's in the weeds. You are not the person who project managers were for you when you were in labs your turn. And that's not to say that they were doing a bad job. It's just this was a different expectation of the role. As you all know, when you had a project manager in labs, you wanted something merged. You had a whole 1, 2, 3. You submit your branch to the repository. You have somebody on your team look over it, say, okay, this works. I reviewed your code. It's all G. Good to go. Only then can you go to the PM, your project manager, and say, we think this is good, but we're not allowed to merge it into the master branch. So we need you to go ahead and do that. To be honest with you, if I'm keeping it 100 with you, as they say, I don't think I can say with confidence that every single project manager was going through every single pull request and saying like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, everything's here. Yes, I also reviewed it and we're good to go. I think the reality is that a lot of project managers just kind of, that was their job, to just like push it, and keep it moving. Just push it, keep it moving. Because they reviewed it. I don't write this code. I'm not writing code with the team, so I don't know what this is even doing. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Is this TypeScript? Is this written in Fortran? I have no idea because I'm not there with the team writing code. So here's the takeaway from this. You manage projects and not people. The term project manager, it's like, it wasn't the wrong term. It's just that when it comes to when you put your LinkedIn profile together, when you're trying to present yourself to people, to convince them to throw a bunch of money at you to do this for a living, to do it for them, they're the ones that need you, not the other way around. When you do that, you present yourself as like somebody who was a quote-unquote project manager. You had this role in Lambda School that separates you from a lot of people, kind of like what Chris was saying earlier about how this is really kind of like a yellow post-it note on top of your resume that moves some things, that makes you stick out from everybody else. But the term project manager gets a little convoluted because project manager and what we do, it's a little bit different. And so sometimes, like from my experience, when I would tell people, yeah, I'm a former project manager for what I was doing at school, it gets a little confusing because then they start throwing you roles and it's like, well, wait, I don't know what this is. I've never done project management. I think you find out real quick that there's a big difference between a project manager and what we do as team leads. So this slide and this whole meditation here is me trying to emphasize that while you do manage projects, it's not a project management role. And by managing projects and not people, what I'm saying is that you're not there to babysit students. I think that one of the bad things, because it's not perfect and it's ever evolving, this whole labs experiment. It's not an experiment anymore. I mean, like, we're well into this. But one of the things that really kind of like concerned me through watching 100 different rounds of labs is that a lot of PMs felt the need to, it was like a disciplinary, almost like a school teacher, how a school teacher's role is not to crack the whip and not to sit there and take attendance and just like hawk over people. The teacher's position is to give education and to help people understand how something works. And too often the role turned into this, like, it was like on some bitter stuff sometimes. Sometimes it just became like a role where it's like, all I am is a glorified babysitter. I'm not saying this, it's not very often, but there have been times where there are teams and then project managers where the role begins to turn into this, like, I'm managing people. And that's the thing. You are not managing people. You are the people. You are one with the team. If it's me, Ed, Nick, Travis, Gannon, Chris on a team, and if I'm the TL, I'm working with them. And what I mean by that is that I'm not saying that after the Zoom call in the morning, like, I'm just jumping into like the team Zoom call and I'm sitting there all day writing code with them. That's a little, we'll get into that a little bit later. I mean, ideally, just like ballpark, the way that we see it from here is that you should be touching code. You should be like sitting in Zoom calls. You have other priorities. You do have things that you have to do. But I need everybody to understand that this is something that like you own this project. Our measurement of you as a team lead and what makes you a successful team lead is the measurement of the students that you have under you. And the students that maybe not under you, that's maybe not the right term to use, but the students that you work with, their success, this is how you are. In the same way that the instructors are held accountable for how we do, how I do, how the section leads do, how the team leads do, and the students, everybody that falls, in that like waterfall diagram, everybody is harmonious with one another in this project. And the only way for that to work is if you are actually there with them. So I beat this horse long enough, but this is something very, very fundamentally different from everything that we've done in the past. And I'm like, really, I just cannot believe how long it's taken us to say, it's not about just merging pull requests. Students should be the one that can push pull requests. And that's a whole other thing. Gannon will tell you all about that. So here's the thing, again, to come full circle, if anything comes from this meeting, if you get anything from listening to me just jaw jack for an hour, managing is not the same as leading. You are leaders. You are not managers. And take pride in that. Take pride in the fact that a manager is just like, compared to a leader is a desirable role. A leader is what we want to be. Managers are just put in place to make sure that something happens. It's automated, it's robotic. It's not the same thing. So let's get that as clear as an unmuddied water in springtime, that we are leaders. We are team leaders, quite literally in our title, team leader. Okay, Ed, we get it. Right, so moving along. Moving along. So these are, I don't know if 6 commandments is the way to go. I was trying to throw the dart and come up with the most important things that we, on a day-to-day basis, adhere to as team leaders. So I guess I got it at around 6, but I think over time, it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be infinite. But for me, these are the 6 most important things. So number 1, you've been through labs. All of us here assembled in this room right now, we all have one thing in common, other than the fact that we go to Lambda school. We've all been through labs. We've been around the block. We've been in it. Blood, sweat, tears, good times, bad times. And we've seen how it goes. And that's a big distinction between everybody else that's about to walk through that door on Monday. When they get started, they say, I've heard about labs. I'm really excited. Or maybe I'm like not excited. Maybe I'm like really scared. But you kind of have the skeleton key of just like, I know what a check-in's supposed to look like. I know what's going to butter up Jess when we give him the Monday check-in. I know what Holdy doesn't want to hear you say when you give a presentation for Brown Bag on a Friday to present to a class. I know what Joshua Howland expects from us when we communicate to stakeholders. That's another really, really cool part that I'll get into later. That's actually my favorite part, but we are privy to this. So that's our advantage. And that's something that we need to use that as team members. We need to be able to like guide that conversation. That's what we do. Say that this is something that we're going to have to shoot for. When we do presentations, you all know when it comes to Monday doing a week 1 presentation, it's like feeling for a light switch, right? It's going on a first date. It's something that you don't know what to do. You don't know how you're supposed to. So I talk for like 3 minutes. I talk for 5 minutes. I know that I have a rubric of like the points I'm supposed to cover, but like this is kind of awkward. I'm nervous. I've never done this before. That's a big part of labs is being able to use your mouth to effectively communicate what it is that you're doing on a software engineering team. And so you can help with that conversation of going through practicing with them, of knowing exactly what it is. Boom, boom, boom. This is what you have to do. You got to do it in 5 minutes. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's try it again. As long as it takes to get it right. And that's the sign of like a team that wants to work with you. I don't know about y'all, but like I've been on teams like during labs where I had a PM that like just really wasn't effective, wasn't really like part of the conversation, was just kind of there to merge PRs, whatever. If you need something, I guess like I'll help you out. Don't be that person. You don't want to be that person. That's why you're here. The best thing, like my favorite thing to hear is when TLs, PMs, or whatever, when they want to sign up, number one reason, because of the fact that their PM and their TL sucked and they want to do a better job. Like it doesn't make me happy to hear the former, but the latter is like, hell yeah, that should be the inspiration. Make it better than when you left it. Number two, again, get into the weeds. This is you rolling up your sleeves. I'm not saying it's not like some hackathon, 24 hours, you're just like in the code with them, but like this is expected of team leads to, we don't have some like hard PR count or something. We're doing away with all that. It's not about like I need to see this much code. I need to see 20 lines of Scala and like, you need to have blah, 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 blah. That's all smoke. It doesn't pertain to this. And conversely, your contribution to the project, we're not sitting there with like a counter checking off, okay, did this, she did that. It's more just like, I want to be able to have a conversation with you. Jess and Holdy and Joshua and Alice, they want to be able to have conversations with you to understand that like you can tell us what this code is doing. You can tell us when you are merging a PR, when you're looking at a PR, like you can understand like what Nick and Travis are doing with this try catch method. Like, what the hell's to do? I don't know. I didn't write the code. Well, now you are writing the code. And if you don't understand something, then get with the team during stand-up. Like, hey, I solved this piece. I'm just kind of like wondering what this does. I don't need you to go through every single component, every single thing. But I do want you to be active on the GitHub and just familiarizing yourself with code. Number 3, this is a huge. Translate the stakeholder feedback and expectations. What does that mean? Who is a stakeholder? What are the expectations? Stakeholder, it comes in a lot of different forms. Stakeholder, sometimes in some projects, I don't know if a lot of people know about these stakeholder projects that we've had in the past, but a big part of it was that we had some projects that would come from third-party people that would come to us with an idea. They say, hey, I got this, I want to, as like a nonprofit, for example, we have one now called Saudi Studio and Saudi Marketplace. They're 2 different projects. But they are a nonprofit based in Southern Africa who want to develop a product via Lambda School students to provide relief, whether it's merchants selling goods or whether it's local natives that are trying to, in the studio center, they're trying to present professional plans to people, to investors, to micro lenders, things like that. And these are real world projects. Like, these are things that actually go into the real world and affect people's lives, that touch them, that change their lives. And you, as a lowly Lambda School student, which is absurd, but like you are developing this thing for them. And then at the end, when it's all said and done, they take the code and then it turns into a real thing. And that's crazy. And so that's the stakeholder in like the not as traditional sense. More traditionally, and that's like becoming more and more of a thing, more common with projects. But most of the time, stakeholder is Joshua Howland. It's Jess Martin. It's Ryan Holdaway. It's the people who are the instructors and kind of like the bigwigs of the whole labs experience. They are the ones who are doing check-ins with you, who the SLs are reporting to, who, essentially you are reporting to. They are stakeholders. And so when you get feedback from them, when you do check-ins on Monday and Friday, when they will send you a message saying, hey, I was looking over the repo and I was kind of concerned. I don't really see this thing happening. I don't see this thing happening, or maybe I'd like to see more of this. You, as a team lead, will lead your team in being able to like digest this information and to be able to, translate it, chew it up, and then pull it out of your mouth and then just like effectively communicate, this is what they were talking about, that they think you're spending too much time on this and they need to see more of this. Sometimes, no matter how effective of a communicator you are, it's kind of amazing how often that can get lost in translation. It's like really, really, sometimes I think when you have like all these cooks in the same kitchen, it is like, it's almost like the opposite of like the more ears to the ground, the more people inside of a thing like this, it's more than likely that you're going to have a difference of opinion no matter how clear the communication is. And I think that when you have the role of a team lead, and you have to be able to like, no, this is exactly what it is, and that, whether that means communicating with the stakeholder like one-on-one, it's just like, hey, I wasn't clear about this, or that's a really big part of what we're doing. Let me go through a couple more, and then I want to like take a second pause for questions. So the second part of this, oh no, not this one. Okay, so the other 3 commands I have here, be available. That's pretty obvious, right? I mean, I think we all are aware that when we had a PM that wasn't there, who maybe took a 2-hour lunch, who wasn't there for stand-up, we didn't really seem to give a damn. It's not really inspiring, because when we do this, we don't really want to be doing it all the time. When we're lab students, like there are days, man, it's like a Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm just like, I'm fried, and I'm tired of staring at this. Like I got blockers, and I can't get through this thing, and like maybe I'm like having a disagreement with the team member. The blood pressure is a little bit high, and I'm not as like, I'm not feeling it. I kind of need my PM, my TL. That's a typo. That should be TL. I need my TL to be there, to like just pop in now and again, just to know that like they're there. If I know that my TL is not there, they just like bounced, or they got Slack on their phone and they're just like merging whenever you need. Like I don't want to work. It's like when you go to work and like your boss is just like kicking it, playing snood in the office, like literally feet up on a desk. Like how does that make you feel as an employee? It doesn't feel good, right? I mean, it's like it's not just like the motivational aspect. It's also like it's like a logistical thing too, because like as a TL, like you have to answer questions. You're gonna get 100 questions from people, just as you ask your TL, your PM, 100 questions about just like, hey, I don't know what to do about this requirement. Like, what does that mean? I don't understand it. Or who do I talk to about getting a premium account for this API that we have to use, because the limitation doesn't allow us to meet MVP or the goal that we have to do for this project. So you have to be there. You have to be there. And like, it is something that this isn't supposed to be some kind of like, like drill sergeant thing, but it is something that like we do monitor closely, and that we need you to be here, because you are, at the end of the day, we were all paid contractors. You are employees for us. And just as any employee of a job, I and everybody else expect you to be there to do and fulfill the needs of the role that we have you in. So be available, be a part of it, because it means more to your team than you can ever imagine. Just remember how you felt. Number 5, actually listen first, then proceed to action. This is, maybe it's not so obvious to people, but maybe the measure of a truly effective leader, as I talk for 40 minutes straight, the effectiveness of being able to just to be able to quell an issue just by listening. Sometimes if you have like discord, if you have like uneasiness or misgivings on a team, like your role as a team lead is to be there for somebody to reach out to you. Like, hey, can we jump into a Zoom? I'm like feeling really uneasy about this thing. It's not always like some scuffle. Like I'm not getting along with the team member. I think more often than not, it's like you have students that are just like, I can't do this. It's week 2, and everybody on this project is just like, they're flying. And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't know. I don't understand how this works. And I'm just like impostoring. The syndrome is real, man. And it's like, it's got me. Cords are wrapped around my neck, and I'm feeling, and that's where you have to, not in some guidance counselor way, but you have to like let them know that, surprise, you're not the first person to ever feel this. And this is how I'm going to help you. Try to help you to realize that you're going to get over it, because you will get over it. And the way that they get over it, the student, is by talking to you. And the key to that is listening first, and not just giving them the prescribed, like, no, you're going to be fine. You're a rock star. You're blown out of water. 1, 2, 3. Like, listen to their fears, listen to their concerns, and only then decide if you have to say anything to assuage it. Sometimes it's just a matter of letting somebody go. You already know how it goes, man. Sometimes like you have a friend who just has to get something off their chest, and before you can even get to giving them advice, they said, "No, I feel good. I feel better now. I just had to blow some steam off." And it's the same thing. So listening is key. Everything else follows after that. But sometimes you gotta be able to take it in and to be able to assess the situation. You know, you have 2 ears, 2 eyes, but 1 mouth. Lastly, of the 6 commandments, be proactive about communicating with your team. I think, you know, out of everything that we just talked about, number 5, number 6 kind of goes hand in hand. Communication shouldn't just be morning stand up, everybody get their air tables in, okay, cool. We got a meeting at 4:00, see you there. You know, I love it. I love it when I was a PM and now a team lead when I was an SL. I love being able to like go into channels and just kind of dip my toe in the water and talk to people. Just like having like a little inside joke. You know, being able to just like check in every couple hours, just like, hey, just trying to take a temperature. Everything cool? Does anybody need anything? Are you stuck on anything? Sometimes it could be even like, I don't know how everybody feels about this. Some people like it, some people don't, and it's your discretion. But if there's like an open Zoom link, if you have like the all day Zoom thing where the teams are just kind of like sitting in, working together. Sometimes like I'm like real into just like jumping in Zoom. Not when someone like jumping out of the bush, like what's going on, but just like, hi, I'm a person who cares about you, and like I wanted to just like see what you're working on. And you'll be able to read it. Like it's your discretion. So you'll be able to read if like students are into that or if they're not into it. You know, it's really like an assessment that you'll have to make. But that's like the number one key to like just students taking you seriously is the fact that you're actually like interested in talking to them about this. So it's like, it's not lightweight. I think it's like, it's one of those like, yeah, of course, duh, Ed, we get that. But I think that because of the fact that it's so obvious, and sometimes it's like it's overlooked. I think there's a term for that, but I don't know what it is. So I just like threw a bunch of things at you. I just talked for a really long time, and I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. But I know that I can kind of go off the rails sometimes. So let me pause here and open the floor. See if anybody has any questions. If there's anything that we can clear up before we move on, and if not, that's cool too. Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the difference between like Labs 14 and Labs X, and what our expectations are for team lead and actually being into the code. So like it seems like the presentation was geared a little more towards Lab X, where you're expected to kind of code along with them at most times.
Mm-hmm.
But in Labs 14, what's the difference?
There's no distinction between Labs 400 and Labs X. I mean, when it comes to what we expect the team leads to be doing with their teams, that remains the same, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a Labs project. If it starts with the word Labs, then that applies. So as a team lead, no matter what, you're still jumping in with the team. And again, I can't emphasize enough that I'm not expecting you to be like 80% of your time, because you don't have 80% of your time to work on that. But say ballpark figure, 30%. 30% is a nice round number of just spending time in a VS Code shared window. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. So at least my takeaway from it, and I could be wrong, we're expected to like legit code with our team?
Yes, and in a sense that I feel like this will be a lot more clarified tomorrow when we can get further into the lessons, specifically the lessons. But by getting into the code, what I'm saying is that I don't necessarily expect you to be like hardcore writing out components and writing APIs and stuff like that. What I am saying is that I want you to be able to like jump into Zoom, and when something is like broken, fix it. Okay. If you see something that's not working, like it's kind of crazy, just a span of 6 weeks, like from going from a lab student to going into like a leadership role, like how much you pick up, like how much better you are at that, because you've already seen it. So you know right away that cores issue, I know exactly what that cores issue is coming from, because I remember the Netlify blues. I remember what it's like debugging Heroku through like the god awful Heroku CLI. So that's what I mean by spending your time in the code. And if it means like writing code too, then that's awesome. There's no penalty for that. I think before there was like the stigma of just like, you can't do it because that's like cheating. It's not cheating anymore. No rules. It's all on the table.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a question and just an aside. Joshua Howland encourages TLs to write code with the teams. My question: can we put these projects on our resume and portfolio?
That's a hell of a good question. It's a very, very good question. And this is something that was kind of crazy to me. Back when I did my first round as a PM, is after talking to a career coach, they had told me that you had worked over a really cool project, but we look at your portfolio page and we only see your labs project. I only see your freelance work. How come you're not putting the other projects on? To which I replied, well, why would I do it? I wasn't on that project. I was just a manager, right? I was just managing the people. And she was like, no. You were on top of the project. You oversaw everything. You were the person who came in and had to address problems. You had to be a point guard. So why the hell would that not be a talking point for why companies should hire you when you share a portfolio? Hell yeah, it should be on your portfolio. I mean, here's the thing. It's also, when I did it, I have one project. It's called Move Bytes. It was from Labs 11, and it was a file sharing service, and it was brilliant. It was a really cool project. It was kind of like a Dropbox or mega upload idea, but it got real nit grit with the AWS and all this crazy cloud stuff, stuff that I'd never done before. And I had it on my portfolio because of the fact that I wasn't writing AWS Lambdas or anything, but I learned so much from it, and I was able to navigate them into here's how you connect this. I don't know how to write what you're doing, but I know that this is going to go nowhere if you spend 4 days trying to hit this API. You need to focus on this, or your UI is terrible. This UI is just awful, and you need to change this color scheme because it's just. I mean, people have had me as an SL, Chelsea and Gannon. That sometimes I was that person that would come in and would just frankly, I would have some less desirable things to share about a design.
Yeah, I definitely remember we actually flexed UI because the phone design was, in Josh and Ed's words, atrocious, and it was.
It could have been better at the point.
At the point it was rough, and just start from scratch, start over, go back to iOS native, and try again.
Yeah. For sure. And so, Ryan, to answer...
So.
Definitely. I'm so happy to hear that. So, Ryan, to answer your question, that's why you should include these on your project, on your portfolio. And lastly, to finish that thought, is you said, just before you do that, I think it's good. It's just good taste and a good optics to just talk to the team about it first. Hey, do you mind, just a heads up? It's cool if I do that. The Move Bytes team, they let me put my name down on the meet the team. And that was helpful. I had hiring partners talking to me in interviews, and they were just yeah, it's a really cool project. I'm thanks. I hope you don't ask me about the back end,
Hey, Ed, on the topic of the portfolio sites and being team leads, can I borrow the screen for just a half second?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So on your portfolio sites, what I really recommend is have a section where you do your own development things, and then have a section where you literally put, I am the team lead on these projects.
Yes.
Deployed for your GitHub and for your live site, having this distinction between what you produce and what you're a leader of really, really helps. So if you feel better having your portfolio built out like this, where you have these distinctions, that's something I would recommend.
I appreciate that, Gannon. That looked great, and some good ideas.
For sure. So let me just pause it there. I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off? No?
I'm sorry, I didn't mute. You may have heard me drinking my smoothie.
My man. Okay, so I want to take this moment right now because I know we're getting closer to time. So I do have a couple more things that I want to cover. I think I'm getting feedback from somewhere. Here, let me mute you guys, and then you can mute yourself, unmute yourself again. Just unmute yourself when you're ready. I'm still getting it. Where's that coming from?
You clicked unmute everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I have somebody I wanted to jump in this conversation just for a couple minutes. For those who don't know, Josh Armanchild, Josh he's a section lead right now for Labs 13. Josh is like my right hand. I mean, we're equals. We're both section leads, but I've learned more from him in this role in the first time that he's on it than I have in all three like rounds I've done it. I'm not trying to buddy you up, man. He's really, really good, and I kind of want to get Josh's musings on what the PM TL role is. So Josh, if you want to jump in, introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ed. That was very, very kind. Yeah, so I see a few familiar faces here, people that I've had the pleasure to work with either as a former team lead or a current section lead, or I've had the pleasure of working alongside some of you in some of those roles. So I'll be one of the section leads for Labs 14 as well, and excited to work with this group. As we've kind of talked around and talked directly about, there are going to be some significant changes for the role of a team lead moving forward throughout Lambda, and especially pertaining to Labs. And the fundamental basis of that change is that you are much more engaged in the work that your team is doing and working alongside them than you have been, or than the role has required in previous iterations of Labs, and that is a change that is fundamentally for the better. So in thinking a little bit about what it means to be a TL, what that means for you and what it means, what are the implications, you have an unparalleled opportunity to grow as a developer and a leader and affect change on your team. And that is going to happen at what I predict is going to be a much more rapid clip as you're coding alongside them, working with frameworks or languages or things that you may have never been exposed to previous. So using kind of the framing that we talked about in the assembly the other day of the three key areas that we care about for Lambda students being technical skills, career skills, and teamwork skills, you'll be able to grow tremendously in each of those three areas. And it's your responsibility as a team lead to model those things for your team. So we don't expect you to be like the best developer on your team. It's awesome if it shakes out that way. We don't expect you to be the best career person on your team, or to be the best teammate. You may have somebody that comes on your team and is an absolute hotshot in one or all of those areas and is just a bright shining star, and that's awesome. We all hope to work with those kinds of developers. But what we do expect, and what the expectation that you hold for yourself should be, is to model what great looks like in each of those areas. So when you're in the code base, you're contributing to that code base at the very top of your ability, and doing things in a way that's clean, in a way that's proactive, in a way that's communicative, in a way that's collaborative. When it comes to engaging on careers things, we expect you to lead out and making sure that like you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and helping your teammates get those I's dotted and T's crossed as well. And the same thing applies to teamwork skills. We expect all of our team leads to be the most proactive in communicating to their teams. One of the things that I've just found to be true as I've worked in managing people and as I've had good and bad managers over me is that the best leaders know how to pull information from the people they're leading rather than requiring them to push it to them. And what I mean by that is the best conversations that you're going to have as a team lead are all driven by you asking the right questions to get the information or the results that you're after, rather than being dictatorial about it and telling people you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to get me this, you're going to get me that. If you ask the questions to drive those conversations, you'll find that your working dynamic with your team is much more what you want it to be. Kind of a dovetail from that is we also don't expect you to have all the answers. At the end of the day, you're still relatively new developers, and this may be the first time that you've ever led a team of people. And so you are not expected to have all the answers. You're just not. But what we do expect you to do is to be transparent about what you don't know, be proactive about communicating that to your team when you run up against something that you don't know, and then go find the answer. We do expect you to be scrappy in that way and to go and chase down answers and chase down problems until you can work with your team to fill those gaps. So you don't have to know everything, but you do have to be scrappy about finding answers to what you don't know. And then the last thing I'll tell you is that we don't expect you to do it all on your own. You're going to have a team of section leads, engineering managers, and direction from the rest of labs leadership that's going to be working really hard to make sure that you have the correct tools, training, and support to know specifically like what your outcomes and key results are that you're delivering as a team lead, making sure that you know what you're responsible for, and making sure that you always know how you're doing, and also how to communicate your successes as a team lead and the successes of your team to a hiring manager. So it's an exciting time. I hope that everyone who's signed up has the mix of excitement and a little bit of trepidation that you have when you're taking on something new, but that it's mostly excitement. And that, like, if there's nothing else that you take away from what I just told you, it's that you're going to have support, you have an amazing opportunity to grow, and it's your responsibility to model the behavior that you want to see from your teammates and lead by example.
Just said it better. One of the big takeaways from this to finish Josh's thought is it's kind of weird that there's like this weird like who's my boss, who do I work under. There's like this totem pole-ism when it comes to labs that I think is like it's really cool that it's like gonna be eradicated, where you have TLs and SLs, but we all work for each other. And if there's anything that I've gotten from doing this like for 100 years now is that it's 100 times better if you can go to your section lead, to go to your instructor, to go to Austin Alred, to go to somebody and just straight up tell them, pardon my language, but I don't know what the F I'm doing. Can please advise me, because I'm freaking clueless right now. A student brought this to me. I don't know how to proceed. Please advise. Like if you get with Joshua Hallen, it's like you'll see more and more of him as we like move forward. His favorite thing is when you come to him and you just straight up tell him like, I'm lost, help me, give me some guidance, because of the fact that it's like you're demonstrating the humility that you have, and just that is worth its weight in gold. So I'll just leave it at that. Please don't ever feel like I, Jess, Holdy, Alice, Sabrina, Josh Armentrout, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, please don't ever think anybody is expecting you to have some kind of answer, because this stuff is like so complicated. Software is like so complicated, but it's like we only started doing this like less than a year ago. So please get it out of your system now that like we need you to be that person, because I don't want you to be that person. Please don't be that person, for your sake, for my sake, for Kareem's sake, everybody's sake. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for sharing dropping some knowledge.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. I got to run. Super excited to work with this group.
See you, Josh. All right, y'all. So we got a little bit more time. We got like 15 more minutes. I want to keep this under 2 hours, but I think we can finish it out in like 15 minutes. I want to take this second. If we could just take like 10 seconds or so to seventh inning stretch. Just get up or don't. I don't know. Do you. But I got to do this now and again. This is like a big difference in how I'm like more effective in doing my work. Is like maybe not in some hardcore Pomodoro, but I do like to get up from the seat now and again. Oh man, I feel better. Cool. Okay, so welcome to the seventh inning. I'll warn you that some of these slides are not where they should be. I'll admit it, I was rushing to get to the very end of this. So let's just go through some of the proxy, the housekeeping, some of the more foundational things that we're going to be doing. A lot of this is kind of like, I'm going to rush through some of this because I know that now a lot of this has changed from when you were a young grasshopper in labs. So team lead proxy, attendance. Attendance is important. You as a team lead, you're responsible for making sure that people are attending. Goes without saying, you know that your team lead, your project manager, they would take attendance after you have stand-up. Usually the best way to do that is by verifying that they've sent the Airtable daily stand-up form, everybody's favorite. I will say this, that the Airtable forms that you know and love were a lot more sluggish, a lot more unresponsive than they are now. A big part of that is in large part to the god, Alice Karsavar, the work that she's put into Airtable. A lot of Joshua too. He's had some like really clever ideas for how to rework Airtable. So we basically like took Airtable's registry out of like the Lambda School master HAL 9000 Airtable and put it into its own. So it's a lot more effective. You won't have students giving you the sorry, Airtable death, can't load, should be good now. But that's usually a good way to get an indication of who's attending or not. It should be obvious through stand-up, but sometimes, sometimes you'll have a student who, if they let you know ahead of time, they're going to miss stand-up. It's kind of how you can, you get the idea. Attendance. I don't know why this man is on my slide. Lambda has like a, Lambda kind of has like it's like a style guide for how we do slides, and it's always just like the charismatic student, just like hanging out, doing my daily stand-up form. But you already know daily stand-up forms. This is okay. Here's the second thing. If there's one other thing that you are not a manager, you are a leader. That's number one. If I can like borrow 2 more brain cells from you to retain, sorry, that sounded passive aggressive. If there's like another inch inside of your brain that I could like parallel park into, it's that data is everything. Data is absolutely everything. When it comes to labs, when it comes to this thing that we're doing, every single thing can be measured. Everything can be a metric. Everything can go into an algorithm, into not even on some produce something for me like Rube Goldberg machine apparatus. Even just like the data of the notes that you take with your students when you have stand-ups. Data is everything. Document everything. The daily stand-up forms are an example of that. Nobody wants to fill out a daily stand-up form, but you know why I want daily stand-up forms? Because of the fact that I can tell when Chad and Edwin are having a bad day. Why are they having a bad day? Why do I have sad emojis all over my Airtable registry? Because of the fact that it turns out that they couldn't, turns out that like, say the Lambda School Heroku account is unauthorized and they're not getting anything back. How do I know this is an issue? I don't know. Maybe they're not going to say anything about it in stand-up. Maybe I won't hear anything from the team lead about it. But when I see an Airtable form, I can tell exactly something's not right. So then Sabrina Terrell, Student Success, Joshua Howland, the instructors, like they could say, all right, Edwin, like I saw like you're just like you're tripping, man. Like, is there something I could do? Is there something going on? Like, what can I do to make your life better? Because that's what we're here to do. And aside from just like the satisfaction of just like, do you have 5 minutes to take a survey? Not even on that. It's also like for us, we need to have this data to be able to like continue for Lambda to like be a viable thing. Like we're trying with every fiber in our being to become more of a data-driven product instead of this like hocus pocus, like kind of remembering how this worked last time, or like I think I remember this team like past check-in on week 3, but that was like a month ago, and I don't remember. Like that ends with X. Starting now, that ends, and so everything is documented. This is all just a long oration for me to just like say that daily stand-up forms are a little bit more important than they have been in a while. Daily stand-ups. Oh no, I think I ran out of slides here. Okay, I think this is my last slide. The daily stand-up, I don't have to go too far into it. I think you are all cognizant of what an effective daily stand-up is. As a team lead, you will have, I don't know if it's going to be 1 team, 2 teams, some of you might have 3 teams. It all depends on the size and the scope of what the project is. But in most cases, and how it's been going for a little while, is that each team lead is assigned 2 teams. And so from 8 o'clock PST, aka Lambda time, till 9:30, it's an hour and a half that you will sequester on your schedule to get a stand-up in with both your teams. It used to be an hour for those of y'all who kind of go back in time, who remember darker days in labs. It was an hour for teams. And that was like realistic. I have an hour is certainly enough time to get an effective stand-up with the team. Thing is, though, is that sometimes you have hybrid teams. Sometimes you have teams that have like 5 web students But then on top of it, they got a UX person, they got a data science girl, then they got a UX person, and that's a lot. That's a lot to cover. 7, 8 people, 30 minutes, roughly ballpark. That's like 3.5 minutes per student. I don't think 3.5 minutes is enough time to effectively talk to Ricky and Butch and Kikwe and all the people in the group. Some of them just like no blockers, everything's good. I'm working on this Postgres migration. It's all G. But then you go to somebody else. You go down the line. It's like, okay, let me take it and turn it to Megan, turn to Orlando, and like, yo, they got 100 things they got to talk about. Maybe it's because they talk too much, or maybe it's just because genuinely they have like 100 things on their plate. They got 99 problems, and like you need to help me with at least one of them. So that's why we took it from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So in that time, you should be able to, it's a lot more manageable now. So usually I like to just like ask the team straight up, just like, hey, do you prefer going earlier, prefer going later? I find that most teams want to go later, but it's not out of the question that teams like to go earlier because the fact they want to just get started a lot sooner. So you handle that, that's your call. And having said that, like, I think that overall I want to like emphasize this point before we go any further, that a lot of what I'm saying and a lot of like the protocol, the proxy, like I want this, I'm not just giving you the rule book. Like a lot of this stuff is going to be like your discretion. Like I need you to make calls. I need you to be able to, I'm not talking about calls of like, okay, I think this team needs a flex. I'm just going to flex on them. This team, I'm gonna have to like escalate this person to a deferral or something. Like you have the expectation of like being involved with the escalation process, but that's something that's like more of Sabrina Terrell, student leadership, Terry Kim. That's much more their job title. Frankly, it's above our pay grade, and it's not really something you want to be involved with anyway, honestly. So all these things, like this is not some hard, like you have to do it at 8 o'clock on a dot. You can do it at 8:15, do it at 8:30. Just be reasonable with it, man. Like I talk to teams, I hear what's going on with them, and if it's a problem that you're starting to check in too late, then I or somebody else tell you like, yeah, can you like roll them back a little bit, and then it'll be fine. But so just take it with a grain of salt that you have a lot more say on this, and I want you to like understand that you all can tell me that if you have a difference of opinion, I'm always open, and we are always open to different ideas that you may have about how we conduct ourselves and how we do these things. So cool. Check for the daily Airtables during stand-up. Usually after the stand-up, that's kind of like, this is like the kind of like, this is like the managerial part of being a team lead. This is not being a leader. This is you being a manager. There are some managerial things. You need those Airtables. And there is, I'll later on in the coming weeks when we have labs lessons that are geared to team leads, we'll have lessons specifically on just like, here's how you track Airtables. So this is just like a broad overview. We'll get into all of those details later on. Second one, the insight tabs on the team GitHub. This is huge. And let's see if I can, no, stop, go away. Let me see if I can, I don't know if I can I pull it up? No, I can't pull it up. That's not true. I definitely can't pull this up. Hold on. Oh no, because I'm in this window. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, never mind. Let me just like try to describe it. So on the GitHub organization, on the GitHub repos, you have a tab on the top called Insights. The Insights tab is it's kind of like I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's sort of like the raw numbers, just give me numbers of like who's doing the contributions, who's been like how many. You got 5 team members. You can go like down the line one by one on a team. So it's like Orlando, Oscar, Ryan, Omar, the four of them. It's like Oscar's got 21 PRs. Orlando's got 4. Ryan hasn't even pushed any or whatever. Sorry, Ryan. But like, that's a good barometer for you to just kind of keep an eye on. Just like an equal eye view of like, it's kind of weird. This person doesn't have any pull requests, and it's like Thursday. Something wrong with that. So the GitHub Insights it's kind of useful for that happening. And furthermore, after we do daily stand up with your team, with your students, you'll have a stand up with the section lead, and usually, not usually, it is like our proxy, our protocol, whatever. That you'll start the meeting out with like, good morning. I'm so and so. My teams. These are my two teams. This team has this many pull requests. This team, and then we'll go into we have a team soon. Next, this team, my second team. This is how many pull requests they have as a team, and that for the section lead is just kind of like a it's not some hard number, but it is data that's very useful to us to be able to get an idea of what kind of pull requests we're expecting in week 1, week 2, week 3. Because here's the thing, guys, we have never done X before. It's always been 5 weeks. So I don't know how many pull requests I'm supposed to be expecting from a team in week 6. Because there's never been a week 6. You feel me? There's a lot of unknown territory. And that's why I'm hyperventilating over the fact that we keep track of these numbers, and they're just writing them down. Not writing them down, but putting them down. Do y'all use Trello, Bear, any of those note-taking apps, Google Docs? I mean, I'm all about Notion. I got such a hard on for Notion. I'm the biggest fanboy of Notion, and it's really, really good for you just have it open in the background when you're talking with your crew, and you just take notes. I just little subtle things that I can make a note of just okay, they had 26 PRs yesterday, and then the next day you do stand up. It's well, they only have 26 today too. That means that they didn't pull anything yesterday. Mildly concerning, maybe something to address. You make notes that's weird. Gannon had a mustache yesterday, and now he doesn't. Maybe I should ask him about it. Something, whatever. That's also the data for your own personal self to be able to communicate with your team. It's just yo, I pay attention to you. I see you, and want to make sure everything's okay. Chelsea. I don't know. Maybe something bad happened with Chelsea. She had to leave class early. I want to make a note of that to follow up with her. Just be just want to make sure everything's cool, because I care about you and want to make sure that there's something I can do to whatever. Just being a human being is what I'm saying. Lastly, document. Ed, if you talk about documentation one more time, I'm jumping out of the Zoom. Well, luckily for you, these are now my filler slides. So I don't have any more slides to go on with documentation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to try to wind this up now because we're getting close to time. And I'm sure you're really tired of listening to me talk, and I want to hear you talk too. So in closing, a lot of the other raw details of how we set up the GitHub organizations, how we do the Trello boards, how we do this, how we do that. Just know that we have 8 weeks worth of lessons, and we're going to be doing week by week. We're going to have different lessons, usually 1 a week, sometimes 2 a week. The first week, there's a lot of those lessons that are going to be taught by Holdy, be taught by Jess, some of them even taught by Joshua. I might even try to jump in on a few of them if they'll let me. I feel like I can talk about some of them. So a lot of these things will go into detail. But this as a whole is just supposed to be some, set the stage and just get ready for Monday. So with that, again, part 2, I just talked a lot and kind of want to hear some feedback, hear some questions. Just let's talk.
I thought that we had been told that each TL was only going to have 1 team from now on.
I think that is what's happening, but I don't want to say that canonically until Monday, because we're still in the process of making sure that each team has the appropriate TLs and everything. So yeah, that probably is the case, but don't hold me to that until Monday.
All right. One other question. Do we know if the size of teams or the scope of the projects is changing or staying relatively the same?
Relatively the same.
Okay.
The only exception to that is that we will have a discrepancy of how many data science students, how many UX, UI students, Android developers, iOS, basically the non-web students. We will see different influxes or decreases in that. I'm not exactly what that barometer looks like right now, but I do know that those are going to be a little bit different. You won't have just I don't believe we're doing just the straight up data science teams anymore. I think that was an experiment that, while it was fruitful and interesting, I don't know if that's what we're going to be doing going forward. I could be wrong, but for the most part, yeah, team sizes are relatively the same.
So when exactly does Does Lab 14 start? You're saying getting ready for Monday. Is that this next week's Monday that
Correct.
Labs 14 would start?
Yeah.
Okay. And that'd be the 4th of July week, right?
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm so sorry. No. I completely forgot that. Oh my god.
That'd be the week after.
Wow. Okay. Post production. I got to edit that part out. Correct. Thank you for bringing it up, Jeff. I really appreciate that.
That's a big load off me too.
Yeah. Definitely. I like playing too, but I guess I just played too much and forgot the Julian calendar. Yeah.
With the new changes that came up on Monday's announcement, I'm sorry if I don't know this. How long is Labs now?
Yeah, that's totally reasonable that you would know it. Labs is now 10 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks, depending. I think that there is some discrepancy of like, again, it's still kind of fuzzy, but I think that there is some talk about 12-week projects, but as a whole, we're talking 10 weeks. So typically, SL contracts were awarded and assigned in 2 cohorts. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Let me. Okay, cool. I'm sorry. You can unmute yourself. I just feedback's crazy. When we assigned the SL roles, originally it was like we did it for 2 cohorts. So if it was like Labs 11 and we hired you, Chelsea, it'd be like, okay, we want to offer you the position. So Labs 12, Labs 13, 5 weeks each. It'd be 10 weeks total. So this is kind of, and usually for TLs, PMs, it was done like on a like cohort contract. So it kind of works out to be what was eventually like 2 PM contracts from like former. So basically, just think of like it's like 2 rounds of labs just combined into one. It's like it's quite literally twice the size.
And can I share my screen? Something about the GitHub Insights that you mentioned.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, cool. All right, something I want you guys to also be aware of though is this is for one of my current teams, Training Bot 3. This is the button Insights that you click on. If your students don't have, and I still don't know how to fix this, something configured on their end, the Insights don't work. Because we have contributors, like it looks like this guy has 5 lines of code written and he does not at all.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing a weird anomaly, do a quick look like, okay, wait a minute, how many PRs does he have and things like that? And if it's obvious, there is a way to fix it. I don't have that off the top of my head, obviously, or I'd have Joe fix it.
We got a video on it coming through with the new video playlist we have.
Cool. Then, so that is one thing I want to point out. This is super useful, but be aware because that can cause problems.
Yes.
You notice that insight, it deals more with commits. So if there's someone who will make 3,000 additions in one commit, it only comes as one addition because it's one commit. There is actually a drop down that you could do commits versus additions versus deletion. And that helps a lot looking at progress too, because someone could have 375 commits a day because they're commit crazy, but they're not really contributing. And then on the other hand, someone could be contributing an immense amount of code, but they don't commit very well. So you have to be careful which drop down you're clicking to.
Yeah, you already know how that goes. I'm sure through labs, like your teammates, you definitely have to. You have that guy. Like I'm that guy that does a commit every time a white space is moved or something, and then you have that person that's just like they get in trouble during checking because it's like you only have 2 PRs, and they're just like, are you kidding me? I just wrote World of Warcraft in JavaScript, but it's in like two like commits or like 1 pull request. Thankfully, having said that, that's like no longer a thing. So don't ever just delete that from your brains entirely. We're good with that now. But the thing again I was talking about, that is a video that we are fixing. That essentially it's like when you set up a repo, your own personal repo, you do like the git remote origin and then the git address or whatever when you're setting up like the git init. That usually is an issue of a student being logged out of like their git. It kind of like think of it like if you were logged into a Google account. If you accidentally log out and you log into your other account, and you try to go to Gmail, it's not going to let you, like, it's like, oh, I'm in the wrong inbox. And the reason why is because you're logged in as a different user. Conversely, like, if you get this issue where, like, none of my commits are coming up, it's probably because of the fact that you're logged out. You're not remotely set up. And by remote, that means, like, I'm talking to the repository from my remote, as in, like, my machine. Well, yeah. And so also to that point, and just in closing on that, is that I said that we have a video for that. I'm certainly in the process starting tomorrow. And I'll be chewing on it a lot during the holiday break. But we have, like, a revised YouTube playlist that we put together for the TLs and for section leads, of just, like, hella video of just, like, this topic, and not some, like, lesson videos. Like, in Training Kit, especially on the website, you have, like, the previous lectures, and then you also have, like, the 15-minute bite size, like, here's what a reducer is in Redux, and it's like Ryan Hamblin with his, like, perfect summarization of how that works. That's kind of like what we're in the process of rebuilding. We had it before, but it's like hella out of date now. So that's kind of like my hobby horse right now is recording a lot of those videos. And one of them, incidentally, is on that topic of how to fix that problem. So, we won't have, like, a lesson about it. It'll just be a playlist that you can refer to for kind of like a training book for that sort of thing. Also on the topic, I also have links for you guys later on, guys and girls, for the Training Kit, for registration for the Gusto, for the payroll setup and everything like that. Yeah.
Can you, I think my brain went a little dyslexic when you were talking about the length of labs, because you said I heard 10 to 12, but I know students are 8 weeks now, and then you said 5 and 10. So I got lost.
The number,
somewhere.
Yeah, okay, and good point. How do I put this? The Yaza. The reason that that number seems to, like, be interchangeable with one another is because of the fact that you have you have labs as this. Your project is how many people here have done CE or know about Lambda CE? It was okay. We got a couple. The CE was it was like we had like a run of it. We were in our second run of it right now. And one of the things that separates CE from labs is that there is a focus not just on the project, but also on career services, like checking out your resume, pimping out the GitHub, like going through the whole, like, headshot and blah, 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 blah. And that's, like, kind of similar to, like, the discrepancy of time in X, where you have weeks that you're not necessarily working on the project. You have, like, some time that you're working on, say, the capstone defense, or you're focusing on things with some career services stuff will come up. So that number, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, some projects may even go a little bit longer depending on the scope, depending on how that works with teams. That number is kind of used interchangeably, and I think I might even have one here right now that I can, grab me one moment. I think I might even have a spreadsheet that I could share of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Yeah, this wouldn't be very helpful. This will all be 100% crystal clear come Monday, or really come tomorrow, once Jess is going to speak at length about the process of what week 1 is, what week 2 is, what week 3 is. But just know that that number can be used interchangeably. And I'm sorry if it's kind of confusing, but I think tomorrow when we get with Jess, he'll be able to, like, completely hammer that down, because sometimes it's even confusing for me too. So I'm sorry if that's, like, kind of weird.
It's not a big deal. I'm going to be like you and be a TLSL forever. So
yeah,
I'll figure it out by the time I've done 2 rounds of TL.
And I think this is like a perfect example. With also that I'm just as green as everybody else in this room. Like, some of y'all haven't done the TL thing before, while some of us have, but I'm, like, also doing this for the first time when it comes to this new thing that we're doing. So while I want you to ask me every question you have, it perfectly illustrates that point of like just being able to say like, I'm not sure. I don't know. And that's one of them. That's a question that like legit. Maybe I just like tried to ninja through that question, and I'm sorry if I did that. But it's like a genuinely like I can't wait to get with Jess tomorrow to like completely hammer that down because like I want to know. Cool. Anybody else?
Do the lab projects get picked for us, or do we pick the ones that we want to oversee?
They get assigned. There's a really clever. Does anybody know Quinn Doherty? Quinn, I think it's Doherty. He was a data science student. He is a data science student. He's well. So if you don't know him, we tapped him for this thing that we want to try out. Where he wrote I think it's written in Python. It's an algorithm where he takes in. It makes the process of assigning students and team leads to projects like 100,000,000 times better. Because this is oh my god, I'm getting hives just thinking about it. The whole process of like assigning everybody, it's been messy and it's really complicated and everybody's just like, why am I on this team and blah 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 blah. Like it doesn't go over so well sometimes. And he developed this thing that essentially, when we send the form, there's an Airtable form. I swear I'll answer this question. It's just a little bit long. We have an Airtable form that we send to all the prospective students coming into labs, saying, "What's your name? What cohort are you coming from? Are you web, data science, basket weaving, ice skating, whatever?" And then the difference is that you have a choice of just saying 3 projects. Here's the list of projects, and of all these projects, give me like 1 or 2 or 3 that like really stick out to you. You don't have to give me 3. If there's just like 1, then just put 1. But it's like, okay, I want to do the cryptocurrency trading project, but if I can't do that, then I want to do the KISS pinball machine simulator, project or whatever. And so we'll take all those things into account. There'll be another like form at the bottom of just like, do you have any particular students that like you absolutely would like to work with? And then finally, I don't know if they still do this, but do you have like a particular student that you do not want to work with? Which is, it's all private. And I think that it is worth something, but I think that we are trying to tweak that a little bit because we noticed this like really interesting anomaly with the last round of labs where it wasn't just like, we don't want to work with, Millhouse because nobody likes Millhouse, and then Millhouse just like, well, I can't be assigned to any team because everybody's just like, it wasn't so much that as much as it was that we have some students in Lambda who English is not their first language, and it was very interesting that you saw like some of like the Korean developers who Korean is their native language. They would all go and work with one another, not because they were like a good team together, but because of the fact that was just like something that they preferred. And that's cool. Like that's awesome. But I think that it was like an unintended side effect, and it kind of like turned out to be a not good thing for the team dynamic. So anyway, that is to say that Quinn developed this algorithm that does all this sorting, and it has all this like really interesting like funhouse mirror logic to say like, okay, you picked 3 people that you do want to work with and 1 person that you don't want to work with. So I'm going to take into precedence more this 1 person that you don't want to work with more than say 3 people that you do want to work with. This person only has 1 project they want to work on. I'm going to grant that a little bit more clemency than the person that has like 3 projects because they they're like more flexible. So once that's all sorted and it goes in and it spits out teams, then the section leads are assigned, and that is like it's straight up like a random number generator. Like we do not have any kind of influx of like Jeff would do really good on this project because Jeff's just like he loves animals, so the farm application is going to be he's gonna do great in the sub-Saharan zoo project or whatever. That's all just kind of like throw the dart. And I think that's better. It's better by design because I think that the minute that you start assuming what TL should be working on, that's like the minute that like you start stepping on toes unintentionally, and then you realize that like you really don't know these people because I don't know you people at all, and I can't wait to get to know you. I mean, I know some of you, but like a lot of you, I've never. This is our first time talking, so like I can't make that assessment. And I'm sorry, that took so long to answer your question. I just wanted to give you the context and the background of how we do that because it's kind of new. We're coming up on time, everybody. So want to try to cut here unless there's like one last question. Seems like we're good. I know you're probably itching to get the hell out of here. So cool. All right, let me cut it there. And thank you so much for bearing with me. I know that was a lot, and believe it or not, we still got some more stuff. But tomorrow will be a lot more interesting. Jess is a much more effective communicator than I am, but he also has more insight on a lot of stuff that like. I don't know, of like what week 3, what's week 6, and what's his favorite color, and all these things that we'll find out. So I had this recorded. I'm going to upload it. I can share it with you if you want to go back to review it. I don't know why you want to do that, but if there's something you want to brush on, as well for students that didn't make it. So with that, I'm so happy to get to know you, and I can't wait to get started. So let's call it here, and everybody, thank you for doing what you do. Thanks for jumping in, and have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ed.
Cool. See y'all later.
You guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.